CECOR is another great company that does these sump cleaning units. And as you'll see with the presentation and when they go over these units, they have a lot of different varieties, shapes and sizes, and different powers that they can use with these things. So without further ado, Paul, if you want to take it away and explain your company.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank everybody for joining. CECOR has been around since 1955. Our main focus or concentration has been the machine tool industry. And what we concentrate on is industrial sump cleaners and scrap metal containers, pretty much geared for that industry. The sump cleaners get used in a wider range, so do the containers, but that's where our focus has been. With the sump cleaners, there's really three main things that we can do. One, we have a high suction level. Two, we have filters on these units to filter the coolant. And three, we have the ability to discharge the fluid back into a machine tool sump. For the suction, this isn't a wet dry vac. It's more like the over-the-road vacuum trucks. On the low end, we're at 13 inches of mercury. On some of the high end for suction lift, we're at 26 inches of mercury. And to give you some idea of that power, if we hook our air units that get to 26 to a 55-gallon drum, we can crush that like a pop can. So that's the kind of muscle that it has. As for the suction, there's really two levels. It's the inches of mercury or suction lift, and then there's also nozzle velocity that comes into play. We have some units that have the ability to suck out of a pit 15 to 20 feet deep, but due to nozzle velocity, they're not really good for picking up a puddle. We have other units that have a high nozzle velocity that can suck up a puddle with no problem. But all of them are geared for cleaning out a machine tool sump. So if it's just a standard sump, any one of our units can handle that without any trouble. As far as filtering, one of the big questions you'll get from customers is, what filter should I use? And that's really a difficult question. There's a lot that come into play with that. Tramp oil, bacteria, a whole bunch of levels there can cause a filter to blind over before you get everything pulled out. We sell the units with 3 different filter fabrics that they can, and they get them when they buy a unit, that they can mix and match. And we found through the years that out of those 3, that'll handle almost every application. Then on discharge, our units can discharge generally at about the same speed that they suck the fluid into. Some we have a little bit smaller diameter hose for discharging. That does alter that discharge gallons per minute, but all the units you could interchange hoses, that if you have a customer that needs to dump fluid fast, they can do that too. In our lineup, we start at 60-gallon units and we go up as big as 600-gallon units. As far as power sources, we have single-phase 110-volt units, air-operated, 3-phase units, and propane units. What we have found is that, for probably 90% of the applications, we have 2 power units that handle almost all of those. And that would be our air units. They start with a model SA5 and a single phase electric unit SE15. And just starting out, we tell a lot of our reps, maybe concentrate on those 2 units. That makes it a lot easier to apply them. So if you go into a plant and you're looking at what they need, one of the things is what power is available to them. If the air units are nice because there's really no moving parts, but on an air unit, you need 3/4 inch headers or main lines coming out from your compressor and 1/2 inch or larger drops. And we need them to be plugged into something more than a 1/4 inch blow off. So usually I'll quiz them on the air and what they would want to hook to or what they could hook to. The SE15 can pretty much plug into any 110 volt outlet. So that's the benefit there. On the units, the air unit, excuse me, has the deepest suction of 26 inches of mercury. So if you got to go out of a pit or something like that, that would be the unit to gravitate towards. The SE15 has a higher nozzle velocity. So if somebody's using it for spill control and that, I'd probably lean that way with a customer. But as far as just general machine tool cleanup, both of these are excellent at doing that. And then on gallon capacity, again, just starting out, and what we stock for the most part is 60 gallons, 140 gallon, and a 200 gallon type unit. Like I said, we go up as big as 600 gallons, but anything past 200 gallons, we feel you can't push around by hand anymore. So now it becomes a discussion of how are you going to move it? You know, are you going to tow it? Do you want a power system to move the unit? And then all of these units, well, I'm sorry, I missed, there's a 90 gallon unit in there also. I apologize on that. The 90 and the 140 and the 200 they're built with 3 ways to transport them. They have a push handle to push it by hand. If you need to go a distance, they do have a tow bar that you can tow on. Or if you would prefer to move it with a forklift that has fork pockets that you could pick it up and carry it. The 60 gallon has push handles to push it around, and it also has fork pockets. So, you know, that is the lion's share of what we sell. We also have the 3-phase and the propane units. And then, like I said, the 300 up to 600 gallon. Probably at this beginning stage for you, if you run into an application that you feel the customer needs that or wants that, it's probably best to get a hold of us and we'll work with you to get them the right unit for that. How we compare to some of the competitors out there, like Erie's units and that, they're probably the most competitive to us. They're using a lot of the same type of pumps that we use, but we feel we do a number of things different than them. One is our clean out doors are mounted flush to the bottom of the tanks. All of our units have some type of clean out on them. They rate a lot of their units in gallons per minute using a 2-inch hose, even though they also have an 1.5-inch hose. And that can make a big difference on that gallons per minute. We can go either way with an 1.5-inch hose or a 2-inch hose, but on these models that we talked about, the SA5, SE15, we feel the 1.5-inch is easier for an operator to handle. But to give you some idea on how that changes the gallons per minute, we advertise a 60 to 70 gallon per minute on those 2 units. If we put a 2-inch hose on, we're up to 110 gallons per minute. So that can make a big difference there. Then there's the Freddy unit. That's probably our other bigger competitor. And for them, they're using a vacuum motor on their units, and then they use a secondary pump for their discharge that's in the coolant flow, and it's a centrifugal pump. You know, we're removing about 90 to 95% of the solids, and that's about what you're going to find across the board for sump cleaners. So there is some slight debris that's not really good for a centrifugal pump to be in for pumping out. You end up with 2 pumps to have to maintain. The vacuum level is lower on those units, so you run more of a risk of plugging the hose. And vacuum in, they're running about 45 gallons per minute. On discharge, it's down to 20 gallons per minute. So really, if you're going to suck out a complete sump and put the fluid back in, we can do that in about half the time that they would be able to do it in. Does anybody have any questions at this moment?
I have a quick question, Paul. As far as the power sources go, what do you see as the most common? Is it electric, or would it be more of like the pneumatic units that you guys are selling?
The single phase electric and pneumatic are running neck and neck. Personally, I like the air operated unit probably a little bit better, just because there's not much to maintain with that, because there's no pumps, no bearings, anything like that we're running it through. What we find though is the toughest thing on the air units is to make sure that they have a large enough air connection. You know, I've found people that go, yeah, we have the air connection, that's no problem. Well, they went and hooked it to a hose reel that had like maybe a half-inch hose reel. Well, the hose reels where the components inside neck it down to about a 1/4 inch, and then they put 100 length of hose on, and then that's not enough volume to run the unit. The air units come supplied with a 20-foot by 1.5-inch hose with 1.5-inch king nipples. We don't supply the connection because we don't know what kind of air connection each plant has, so they have to provide that.
And from a pricing standpoint, are the two, if you went with the same gallon capacity, are they pretty comparable, or is the pneumatic, would the pneumatic be cheaper?
We price them the same. It's sort of a thing. We don't want them making a decision on price on that. More, it's a performance level, and they perform about the same.
And Paul, what is the price point on it? What's the list price on the SE15 and the pneumatic version?
Okay. So if we're going to look at a 90-gallon unit,
is that the more common, 90 versus 60? Would you say?
Oh boy, they're sort of. We sell a lot of 60-gallon units due to their compactness.
Yeah.
But the 90, probably the 140 is fairly popular. I would say 60 is probably the most, and then 140.
Okay, so what's the price point say on the 60 then?
Okay, the 60-gallon unit, air and electric, is $5,856.
Okay. And then what are we getting for a resale discount on that?
I don't know. Is Jeff on by any chance?
20%.
20%. Okay.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
guys, just when we're on the topic of the discussion, we do get we're getting a 20% discount for these units. And then what CECOR and Jeff agreed with myself is CECOR is going to be giving the rep that sells a unit $150 for every unit that they sell as part of like the promotion. So we will be charging our customers list price. And if you sell a unit, you will be getting $150 for selling that unit, and the customer will still get the same list price.
I'm in complete agreement, Mike. That is correct, but we're going to pay that to Butler. Butler's going to be giving that to the rep.
Correct.
Thank you. Thank you. Paul, do you have any pictures of these units you can share on the screen with us? I'm just trying to look at and the filter on the one that cycles. Is it a disposable filter? Is it a clean out filter on that unit?
Our filters are all reusable.
Okay.
While Paul's finding the pictures, I'll comment a little bit on that. First we have a filter basket to support our filters. So that basket obviously has its perforated steel and allows something. So that in itself is what, let's say 50% use. They just use the basket. And then we have filter media. So the media can go inside there. And for the most part, that's reusable. So there's a cotton, there's a poly, and there's a burlap, for depending on what their specific needs are.
Okay.
And we found that many sludges are different. They just are. Some have tramp oil, some don't have tramp oil. Whatever makes them up, and they really got to test the filter or the media to determine what works best for them.
Okay.
Just a quick question for you. With all CECORs, are they like the older units before you came out with the Sump Shark, where you fully vac into the system, swap your lines, and then discharge the system?
Yes.
Is that still?
Yes.
Okay. So you can't continuously pull the product in and discharge at the same time?
That is correct. And we find that faster than the Freddy, because the Freddy's intake or suction is a different rate than their discharge when they're running. So for us to suck something up and then fill it back up again, we believe is a faster process.
Okay.
Jeff, I think you made a good point about that too when you and I talked on the phone. If shops are planning for a clean out day, it's something that you'll have to analyze at each of your shops, guys. But if they're planning on a clean out day, would it be more likely that they would decide to shut that particular machine down for 15, 20, 30 minutes, clean it and get everything done with it versus trying to clean it and simultaneously do production work? That would be the big question on whether they would need something that would be a continuous flow, I guess.
Yeah, and typically you pull the sump out, so you're really not running the machine while you're cleaning a machine out.
We go two ways on that. First, I agree with that statement where they pull the sump out. We look at that, and I can't speak to any specific factory, but as a general rule, that's something you might do once a year. But you may walk in quarterly and go clean out where the portholes are. So you're going to pull out some of the fluid, not all the fluid, and then go ahead and put back in the filtered coolant that you just pulled out, just so you can keep running your machines. So that's a quick process as opposed to pulling that whole sump out. It's going to take a much longer process on that yearly clean, if you will.
Another quick question for you guys, where I've ran a CECOR quite a lot myself. Are they all set up where you need to have either a fork truck or a crane to pull that basket out? Or do you have models, the 60-gallon model, for instance, can one man pull that basket out by themselves? Because a lot of the smaller shops, they're just not set up with overhead cranes and so forth to make that an easy process.
What you described is the F23 or the F50 filter baskets. There's also an F10, which is 1 cubic foot. That goes in our single phase units and our air units all the way up to 600. That's kind of the standard that we use. Okay. You can put an F23 in any of those units if that's what you want, but it comes standard with the F10. And I'm going to ask Paul, so I'm going to apologize here, or Brian. With all of our changes, that's still the standard in the single phase and the air. Am I correct? The F10.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
What did I do?
Yeah, that picture on the left there that he's displaying is what I'm used to, where you need a piece of equipment to be able to pull that, and it's not practical in some of the 30 machine a shop that might have 30 machine tools.
That's 2.3 cubic feet. What we have found in our demos or talking to customers is the F10 makes more sense. And even if I have to empty the filter 2 or 3 times, and it'd be 2.3 times to net out the same as one dumping of the F23. But one person can pull that out, dump it, put the filter media back in, put the cover back on, and get going again. You don't need any extra equipment.
And,
Well,
that's
nice.
the unit. That's the picture on the right where the gentleman is picking it out of that right there. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's Paul.
Yeah.
That's Paul in younger years.
Oh boy, Paul, you're different. You're not quite as white, Paul. Okay, and that's the 60-gallon unit right there.
No.
No,
This is the
that's
60
the
gallon.
60 gallon.
Got it. Okay, got it. Yeah. Okay.
So this is the electric version. This would be the design look for 90 up to 200 gallon. There is a slight modification that we've done recently, and that's adding fork pockets to the bottom of it, but virtually it's about the same as what you're seeing there.
Okay. Yeah.
Our marketing department, that's Jeff. He's a little slow and he doesn't get these pictures updated as fast as he's supposed to.
Just to iterate too on that pumping, when we talked about the Freddy to the other, one of the reasons we can't suck and discharge at the same time is due to our depth of suction. We would cavitate the type of pumps that Freddy or anybody that's using that. And, you know, we've looked into it several times, and diaphragm pumps and all of them, the pump manufacturers said, no, with that vacuum you're pulling against this, it would not be good for the pump. So, and as Jeff said, we come to the conclusion we're as fast, if not faster, just due to the higher pumping rates we have.
And the changeover to any experienced person using the sump cleaner is 10 seconds on the high side. I mean, it's a very quick changeover.
How about, have you guys made any improvements on being able to clean the inside of the sump shark? Because I know the unit I personally ran a lot. Excellent unit, but we never, I shouldn't say never, we rarely used it to dispense coolant back out, just because the inside of it always had a film of oil and so forth. We primarily used it to remove coolant, and then we'd put the coolant into something different to recycle it, and we wouldn't mix it back into the CECOR. I just didn't know if you'd made any improvements on cleanability, if you will.
The fork pockets that we've added probably help some, because now you could lift the sump cleaner up that you're, you know, waist or eye level to the clean out door for cleaning.
That would help tremendously, yeah.
And, you know, you can pressure wash them out and that, and balancing of what filter you're using and that. But, I mean, we do have a line of dispensers too for dispensing the coolant. So, I mean, if it's recycled coolant that you're trying to bring back or that type of thing, we sort of lean towards our dispensers.
And Paul, I heard the question differently, and your answer is accurate with what you said. But if you have a shop that has a lot of tramp oil in it, whatever sump cleaning system you use, you're going to have that problem, and maybe you should be talking about getting a coalescer, and then you'll use our unit to go ahead and suck out that sump, take that fluid over to the coalescer, have it remove the tramp oil, and then take a dispensing system and bring it back to the unit at a future time.
I just didn't know if you folks had added a port or something like that on the higher end of the tank, because that neck that's your filter housing sits down in doesn't allow you to clean the upper surfaces. Basically, you have to pull the clean out door off the bottom and pressure wash up overhead. I just didn't know if it was an issue that was addressed. The unit I ran was quite old.
You bring up some points there for us to look at. I mean,
it'd be very easy to add some porting to be able to make your unit easy to clean, I guess is my point.
I appreciate the feedback, and those are things we do look for. That's why we ended up with the fork pockets recently. That's why we ended up with the 6 bolts to remove the electric, and you can replace it with air. We've made a lot of these changes because of feedback.
That's a great improvement. Yeah.
Well, and some of that's allowed us to be able to move quicker on stock and that. We can convert a unit here fairly quickly to whatever your customer is needing.
Sure.
We do a lot of specials also. A lot's not the right word, but we do some specials. If you have some ideas, some specific feedback from a customer, and we think it makes sense, These are things that we would put in even a single unit, and that drives over time how we update our unit. It's customer driven. We need the fork pockets in the 90-gallon unit, which we didn't used to have. Well, because of customer demand, those are things we started adding. So one guy has to do a special, and then all of a sudden we then figured out how to do this all the time.
Let's see here.
Paul, where do you ship out of? Where do you guys ship your products out of?
Belleville, Wisconsin.
Okay.
Just south of Madison.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, we do all the manufacturing there. We have a full line of repair parts. We can generally ship parts out same or next business day.
Jeff, I know you and I briefly talked about this during our call, but if a customer is requesting a demo or things like that, we're not going to lead with that, obviously, but how do you guys handle that process? They need to pay for the freight, I assume, but then they can hold it for X amount of time and try it. Can you go over that a little bit?
For the 60 to 200 gallon, first, we're not in the business of having equipment shipped out to be shipped back. So we need to have a qualified customer. But if they're a qualified customer, 60 to 200 gallons, we'll do a 30-day trial, let them try it out, make sure they like it. If they like it, we get paid. If they don't, they ship it back, and they're going to cover cost of shipping both directions. They also need to make sure they clean up the unit, make it look as new as possible, meaning like new when they ship it back, and then just keep the packaging that we ship it in and package it back up the way it was shipped to them.
Okay. And is that in both air and electric you do that on, or is that just the?
It is both air and electric.
Yeah. Okay.
And then, guys, for preliminary contact information, so if we get an interested customer, or if we have questions for you, should we be starting with Mandy first?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll
Mandy's
provide that
extension
contact.
210. Yep. Mandy's
Yep.
extension 210. But and again, we're not here to take your sales. You guys are our lifeblood. So if you call us and tell us you're working with a client, you can be as open as you want to be, and as open as you will be. We'll call the client. We'll help you make the sale. That's our goal.
Okay.
It doesn't change the commission. We'll help you make the sale.
With the tech questions, do we go to Mandy too, or we go to Paul, or what's that process?
Mandy's the focus for you folks, and she'll put it off to Paul or Brian or wherever it needs to go. Paul or Brian may call you back. We'll see what happens with that. Let's just see how this all works out. But Mandy's going to be the person you call.
Okay, great.
Jeff, do you also have the ROI calculator on your site?
Yes.
Yes, it's useful.
Paul, if you go to resources under
Okay.
the sump cleaner.
Yeah, and is there a like a YouTube video of showing this working on the site?
We do have videos out there. We're working very hard at making more videos. We just created a video about the company. If people are wondering what about CECOR, if you go to our About page, we now have a video that kind of describes CECOR way back from the daughter of the original owner up through to today. We do have a couple of videos on the parts and pieces of the PTL series, talking about the different features, if you will, and that's on the actual pages of the unit itself. And we're adding videos all the time. We're working very hard at getting more and more videos. It appears that's what the customer wants to see. They don't want to necessarily read everything. They want to view it, if you will. Oh, your screen isn't changing, at least not on mine.
Oh, it's not?
No.
No.
Okay. Let's see what's going on here.
Now we're back to you, not your screen. I presume you know that.
Yep. Okay, Jeff, when I went in,
There you go.
that.
Okay.
Okay, now we see that. So if
This
you
is-
go to sump cleaners,
Okay.
resources, sump shark resources, 3 more down. 1 more down. There you go. And then I think just below that, or maybe the 3rd box down or something,
Right.
would be
Right
the
here.
calculator.
Oh,
There you
okay.
go.
Yeah.
So that's where you go and you can view and then download the calculator from there.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect.
It comes up, it's fairly easy to use. Okay, is that showing up on the screen?
No.
It's not.
I see it. I see it on the screen.
Okay,
Okay.
so you enter the number of machine tools, enter your hourly rate, average gallon capacity of the sumps you have, number of sump cleanouts per year, average number of hours to clean the sump, your hourly rate for employees, your concentrate, cost per gallon of the coolant, and your disposal costs. And then it'll break out what your costs are without a sump cleaner, with a sump cleaner. You can punch in the price of whatever sump cleaner you're looking at, and it'll give you the payback.
Hey, Paul, what's on the screen is the web page still, not the calculator.
Uh,
You'll have to share the desktop if you want to go between windows. Right now, the only thing that's shared is your web browser.
all right.
We're still getting used to this Zoom meeting stuff. The Butler crew may be used to it. We're not.
Is that more better?
More better.
Yep, that's more better.
Okay. So like I said, you fill in the things on your machine, your coolant costs and that, and then it'll calculate this down here as far as cost without, cost with. The CECOR Sump Shark, you can put in the price of whatever unit you're discussing, and then it'll break out your payback time.
Generally speaking, if there's more than 10 CNCs, you can get a payback on a 60 or a 90 gallon sump cleaner in under a year.
Yeah, I've used this tool multiple times to help. It's a good tool.
You guys have any sales type questions or any other questions that you'd like to ask?
There was a discussion as far as the video, there you'll find those also under that resource.
There's videos in 2 places. It's right there. Paul, could you just pop the web back up and just go into the Sump Shark and the, I'm sorry, the CECOR Sump Shark on the website?
Yeah.
And Mandy has a quick comment about the leads that you guys come across.
If you guys want to email me with customers you might be working with so that if they come to me, I know you guys are working with them, that'd be great. That I don't end up saying something I shouldn't say or taking it from you guys.
As far as taking it from, we won't do that. You guys come and tell us and we'll take care of it. We can fix anything here. But it's easiest if we know they're working with you because we can point them back to you. We can answer the questions and we can talk about how good Butler is. We can help you make your sale.
That's a great point.
So-
Thanks, guys.
So Paul, if you go to Sump Cleaners,
Okay.
you go to Sump Cleaners again. And go to air. I think it's going to be a little ways down.
This one,
Yeah,
air powered sump cleaner.
I believe so. I'm hoping so. We're going to find out in a second if I remember or not.
Yeah, it's there.
So we hired some talent and put them on the screen. Does that go down a little ways, Paul? I think I might be too early. Nope, there it is. We hired some talent, if you recognize that character. Anyways, we'll go ahead, and this is kind of the feature thing for walking through the different features. And we're trying to put this on for each one of our units on one of the more general pages so you can kind of look through. Over time, as we keep progressing, we'll add more and more of these types of videos. So you can watch these at your convenience. And if you have any input to say it would be better if you did this or this, we're wide open to that. We're novices here. Where's the
Audio's
the
not coming
voice?
through. It might not be coming through because we're in the meeting.
So there is audio. It doesn't just show the pretty unit. There is more to it than that. If you have a problem with the videos, please let us know, because we only know what we can see here, meaning it works for us just fine. If there is a problem out there, please let us know.
Jeff, I was able to watch several of the videos as I was making the flyer, so they are very helpful. I think, guys, the most important thing here, because of the large product offering, as far as like the multiple power sources and the sizes, I think it'll be important to get CECOR involved as early as possible, especially because it sounds, just based on the conversation that we're having, they're comfortable helping reach out to our customers directly to help them walk through and answer any questions as well. So it can be a collaborative and team sale to help dial our customers into the right thing. So
we're your partner, and you have 7,000 items to sell. We have one, and we know our product. We will help you make the sale.
Any other questions?
I think that's it.
You guys have a wonderful weekend.
Yeah, great job, guys. If I get any questions from any of these salespeople, I'll be sure to reach out as soon as possible.
Please do.
Okay.
Appreciate your time.
Great
Yep,
job,
thank you.
guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.